Hi guys. So, as you may or may not know, I am what you might call a gamer. I've talked a little bit here and there about what sorts of games I play. I like fighting games most of all. Mainly I've been playing a lot of Tekken 8 and Street Fighter 6 lately. I main Lily and Cammy, but also Bridget in Guilty Gear, Melina in Mortal Kombat, Cagliostro in Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. Feel free to psychoanalyze me now. I also like visual novels, I like RPGs, I like all sorts of things, but we're not here to talk about any of those today. Today we're here to talk about a very specific genre of video game. Fashion doll PC games from the late 90s and early 2000s. Which is really, I suppose, more of a category than a genre, but did we come here to argue about semantics? No, we came here to put on our funkiest, freshest tunes, our most slammin' outfits, and have a totally hot dance party. The premise of this video is very simple. I'm gonna go through some of these games and I'm gonna talk about them. Well, I'm gonna play them, obviously, but I'm also gonna talk about them. And you're going to listen to me talk about them because you value my witty and colorful commentary. And as we go through this list, you might think, wow, this seems like an eclectic selection of games. And it kind of is, because these are the games that I could actually get to function. One would think that playing old PC games would not be an issue because technology is so much more advanced than it was back then, right? Well, that is the issue, actually. Some of these games are almost 30 years old and are simply incompatible now with a lot of modern hardware, or like something like that. I don't know. I went to school for theater. Please don't make me explain technology. Anyways, getting some of these games to work on a modern computer is actually deceptively extremely difficult, and in some cases just absolutely impossible. I spent God, I don't know, 8 straight hours just downloading and installing various games on virtual versions of Windows XP and Windows 98 until I found enough that I could actually use for a video. And this is the group I ended up with, which is still a very interesting group, don't get me wrong. They're all fashion doll games, as they should be. Specifically from around 1998 to 2002, because that's probably where you'll find the majority of these types of games. After around, I'd say 2004 or so, Flash games are what start to dominate that sort of market. So that's when you get your MyScene games, your Polly Pocket games, etc., which are obviously much cheaper to produce and being available for free, reach a wider audience. So this specific style of game starts to just kind of die out. Unless you're Barbie, then you get to keep making games pretty much indefinitely. Also, I was born in 1996, so these actually do sort of predate my computer use. I didn't really grow up with very many of these. Some of them I did, but that's part of why I wanted to make this video. I'm a lifelong doll collector as much as I'm a lifelong gamer. And I want to see for myself this part of history where these two hobbies were intermingling. But that's more than enough musing from me, I think. Let's play some of these games. The first game I want to talk about is probably the one with the least amount of content. And that's because it was made as an add-on rather than its own thing. In 1999, Barbie released the Working Woman Barbie doll, which included a CD-ROM in the box, advertised to work with your computer. Yeah, I sure hope it does. But also to design your own stationery, personalize your own magazine, and play lots of cool activities. 2 out of 3 of those things are true. Because like I said, Working Woman Barbie is not the most robust of Barbie software. When you start the game up, you choose which version of Barbie to play with. Then you get to choose between her home or her nondescript but empowering office job. You'll want to start off at her house, which for some reason is not pink and 3 stories tall with a slide coming out of the roof. So either this is like Barbie's summer home or one of those TikTok home renovators got to her. Anyways, from Barbie's home, you select one of 2 windows. The kitchen window lets you pack Barbie's bag for work. All you do here is drag all the items you want into the bag, and she'll have a little comment for each thing. A good businesswoman always carries a calculator, she says. It's good to always carry some money with you. Words to live by. Probably. You can also go up to Barbie's bedroom, where you can dress her either for work in some fierce business, casual realness, mama, CEO boots the house down, she owns 51% of this company, etc., etc. Using the other side of the closet, you can dress her for a date with an interesting selection of outfits. Whatever you choose, though, Barbie will have a very enthusiastic comment about it.
What bright, fun shoes!
If you choose to go with a date outfit, you'll see Barbie on her porch as the car rolls up. Choose a work outfit and you'll get to see her wear it at her fancy office job. Then from here, you can unpack her bag and decorate her office a little. You can change the scenery from morning to day to night, and hope that Barbie's boss isn't forcing her to work an unreasonable amount of overtime. This is also where the 2 main activities are. Clicking on the printer lets you design stationery, things like to-do lists or business cards, which can then be printed out. Rest assured, if there was a PC game in the 90s, it was going to let you print something out. But if you click on the magazine, you can design a magazine cover. The game also featured compatibility with the Barbie Photo Designer digital camera, which I can imagine those pictures featured like 6 pixels, but you can also import pictures from your own computer to use as well. And that is Working Woman Barbie. Again, not a very exciting or in-depth experience, but it also really wasn't supposed to be. It was just something supplementary to come with the doll. And obviously, Barbie has a lot of PC games to choose from. A lot of very ubiquitous ones too. Barbie Fashion Designer, the Detective Barbie series. All great, all ones I want to dedicate future videos to if I can, but for this one, I didn't want it to be all Barbie, and I also wanted to highlight a game that maybe isn't talked about as much. So, welcome to Barbie Magic Hair Styler, released a few years earlier than Working Woman Barbie in 1997. And it is really exactly what it sounds like, a hairstyling game. You start by choosing between Barbie, Kira, Teresa, and Christy, and then choosing a theme, which will impact some of the accessories you're given to choose from. Costume party, dream date, wedding, or career. And this game actually kind of surprised me with how much depth it has to it. You can start by choosing how curly you want her hair to be, if she has bangs or not, if it parts in the middle or to the left or to the right. There's 2 kinds of scissors too, one for straight cuts and another for cutting at an angle. So if you want Barbie serving severe bob, there you go. And you can make cuts pretty much at any length you want within reason. The comb is used for growing Barbie's hair, and this game does one of my favorite things that children's games do. It doesn't try too hard to impose limits, so yes, go ahead and give Barbie the Samara blowout. Give her 2 different kinds of twin tails. It's allowed. There is, unfortunately, kind of a hard limit on how short you can cut her bangs, though, so you might have to take Scream 3 Courtney Cox off the inspo board. You can also add barrettes, hair bands, and hair ties for even more customization, as well as some pre-made hairstyles that you can't achieve just using the default options, like a bun and a few different styles of braids. Then, in the hair color page, you choose from some hair colors and some optional highlights. The base hair colors only come in pretty natural shades, but the highlights are all sorts of fun colors. Then, of course, there's makeup, lipstick in basically every color, and you can choose to make it glossy or sparkly. Eyeshadow, which again, you can choose to make asymmetrical if you so desired. And lastly, blush. On this screen, you can also choose her skin tone, which I'm going to be smart and avoid making a joke about. Then finally, the last part, jewelry. This part involves choosing an eye color, glasses if you want them, earrings, and a necklace. The very last page corresponds to the theme you chose earlier, so if you chose the career option, you'll see like a hard hat or a firefighter's helmet. Masks if you chose the costume party. The wedding one has bridal stuff. The dream date has more contemporary accessories. It's exactly what you would expect. Afterwards, you get a little slideshow of the various changes that you made, and you can watch a little video of your finished products. This part always kind of glitched out for me, unfortunately, but I'm sure it was super fun in 1997. Then you can save your creation to the gallery, and of course, print it out if you would like to. Do it all over again. I can definitely see a young child wasting hours upon hours on this game. It's deceptively actually really fun and addicting even as an adult. Obviously, it's a little limited by the time period it came out in, but all the things you can do with the hairstyles is honestly really cool, and you can tell a lot of effort was put into making this a pretty fun game for children. Or for adult men that are pushing 30. Who's counting, really? I feel like video games have just kind of lost the plot when it came to hairstyles recently. Like, I've been replaying Dragon Age Inquisition because Veilguard is coming out soon, and I forgot how absolutely diabolical the hairstyle selection was in that game. They could have learned a few things from Barbie Magic Hairstyler, honestly. Next, What's Her Face from 2002, obviously based on the What's Her Face line of dolls from Mattel, which if you don't know were dolls that came with blank faces, but included stamps and markers for you to draw their face on. Pretty fertile ground for like a basic dress up or makeover game, right? Well, it kinda sorta. The What's Her Face game is framed as you making an episode of a TV show. You start by choosing one of several themes, like a concert or an award ceremony or a beauty pageant. But as far as I can tell, whatever you choose doesn't really affect much moving forward. Then you choose a stage and you're able to decorate it with little props. There's a good amount to choose from, not a whole lot, but enough to keep me entertained for a few minutes just looking through all the options and combinations. After you decorate your stage, you choose your models. You choose 2 out of 4 characters, glam, cool, sweet, and hip, named for the dolls that were released, of course. But you can swap between clothes from all 4 characters. This is the part of the game that I, as a kid, think I would have spent the most time in. Between all 4 characters' wardrobes, there is a pretty decent amount of options. And I can admit it was pretty fun dressing them up. Maybe I'm just easily impressed, though. Maybe I'm always craving some kind of dress-up game. And now you get to set the scene by choosing from different animations for the girls you just dressed up. These range from simple gestures to poses to quite a lot of dance moves as well, and dare I say, the What's Her Face girls got some moves. And then you get to choose from a selection of what I assume is a bunch of royalty-free music tracks. You can add a pre-recorded voice clip and your own narration if you have a microphone, and then repeat all that for up to 6 separate scenes per episode. Honestly, not bad. Now, there's not a ton of customization here. No matter what, you're always going to end up with some variation of 2 girls in funky outfits kind of flailing around while some unfitting music plays in the background, but like...
We have one word for you. Paradise.
I don't know, it's still fun. If I was a kid, I could see myself doing this over and over just to see all the different combinations of outfits and set dressing and voice clips, even if the end product is a little limiting. Not exactly what I would have expected from a What's-Her-Face game, but still interesting. Next, another game from 2002, Bratz. And I figure the Bratz need no introduction. Most people in my circles, at least, will be pretty familiar with the Bratz console games, the ones where you're able to walk around the mall and do quests and buy outfits. All great, fantastic games, but there was a game that came a little before those. This one. And maybe I'm cheating a little because this wasn't strictly a PC game. It was released for PlayStation 2, and I actually had the console version when I was little. I played this game when I was little. So unlike the Bratz games that came after this one, Bratz 2002 is a pretty straightforward rhythm game. All my years of Project Diva and Idolmaster have prepared me for this moment. Or maybe it's the other way around and Bratz prepared me to play those games. Anyways, gameplay is nothing fancy. You press the corresponding arrow keys as they pass through the right spot, though the hardest difficulty adds 2 special action buttons in addition to the arrow keys. Note, the game does not bother to explain which keys the action buttons are at all. I had to go into the configuration menu and figure it out for myself. And this is what you do. Oh, you do choose from 5 characters: Chloe, Yasmin, Jade, Sasha, and interestingly enough, Megan. But you do have to play through the whole game with the character you chose unless you do the practice or multiplayer modes. But you do unlock a few outfits as you progress, and after you complete all the stages and unlock the character's personal bonus stage, you can choose another one of the Bratz to do it all over again with. Doing so also unlocks more dance moves for you to use during the designated freestyle time, which happens 1 or 2 times per song, where you get about 10 seconds to throw out whatever dance moves you want for some extra points. As a rhythm game, I would say it's fine. I have certainly played far more low-effort games in my life. I have even played worse Bratz games, but it definitely doesn't have the staying power that the later Bratz games do, so just don't expect anything on their level. But it's okay. There's a pretty good selection of stages, and the songs are, well, I think they're good, but they're a little difficult to hear underneath all the voice cues.
Amazing! Awesome. Cool. Dad, good! Good! Break it down!
Will this game change your life? Probably not. I mean, it might, who knows, but probably not. It's good entertainment for a few hours, though, if you want to just kick it and dance with the Bratz crew. Still better than Bratz Flaunt Your Fashion. Now to go back in time again, back to 1997 for the American Girls premiere. The American Girls premiere 2nd edition, specifically. This one is a lot like the What's-Her-Face game we talked about earlier, only quite a lot more complex. It's the same premise, really. You start off by selecting one of the 6 American girls: Felicity, Josefina, Kirsten, Addie, Samantha, or Molly. Each has their own selection of backdrops and props you can use to create your scenes, most of which will be pretty recognizable if you've read their books. The sprites are all digitized from real actors, which was a pretty popular way of doing this sort of thing back in the late 90s. The quality of the digitization is unfortunately not great, not even for the time, I don't think, but there was a pretty commendable amount of effort put into it. Each character not only has several outfits, or costumes as the game calls them, to choose from, but also a pretty hefty selection of animations too. And not only that, but you can rotate the character and view each of the animations from a different angle. You can also put in members of each girl's family or secondary characters from their stories, all of which you have their own animations too. The setup seems a bit intimidating, especially for the age demographic this was aimed at, but it's not really all that difficult once you figure it out. Unlike What's Her Face, there's no strict timeline to reference, but when you press record and then an action for a character to do, the game will just record it as it is. But you can fast forward or rewind through the frames and record actions for other characters too on top of that one. And really, you just keep going until you're satisfied with your scene. From there, you can choose the kind of lighting you want. You can also change the lighting as the scene progresses if you want to do that. There's a library of sound effects as well as background music too. And it seems like the music changes to suit each girl's time period and setting too, which is pretty cool. For voices, you can choose either to record your own lines or use a built-in text-to-speech engine, which, it being made in 1997, works about as well as you can imagine. And once you get all of that down, the world is your oyster. You are free to recreate all of your favorite scenes from the American Girl stories, or perhaps some new ones. It's definitely a bit more comprehensive than I expected from a game like this, but that's a good thing. You know, just because it's a game for children doesn't mean it can't be complex or have a bit of a learning curve. Especially in 1997, you know, we were all about teaching the next generation to be more tech savvy. And American Girl is a franchise that definitely strives to be a little more educational than What's Her Face, so it makes sense that this would be its way of approaching things. I don't know if it's the sort of game I would have spent a lot of time on as a kid, just because this was never the sort of game I liked too much. Especially with What's Her Face, you know, I was all about the dress-up stuff even now. That's just what I wanted out of my doll PC games, but I can still see it being pretty fun and time-consuming for someone else. Fortunately, there is an American Girl game that caters more to my interests. The American Girl's Dress Designer from 1999. In this one, you start out the same way. You choose one of the 6 girls and you're dropped into their house, where they give you a little introduction to their time period. There's a few things you can click on here and there where the game will either explain some historical context to the home, or the girl will talk directly to you and explain a little about her life.
You know, I'm lucky to have such a lovely room. My parents died when I was 5.
Click on the icon at the bottom, though, and you'll be brought to the Dress Designer Studio. And this is where the magic happens. From here, you can click on the hat box to change the headwear, the wicker basket to change the accessory, which you can drag around, but dragging things was unfortunately just very glitched for me, so they kind of just have to float there. Anyways, click on the dress form to change the outfit. And also the red book here, which will let you click on anything in the game, will explain some historical context to the outfit, which is neat. We love a learning moment. Every outfit you can change the fabric of, either with solid colors, some preloaded fabric patterns, or, and this is fun, a custom pattern. In the pattern design studio, you paint a square, and you can choose how it's mirrored in the pattern a number of different ways. And then once it's to your liking, you can finish it off by adding bows or buttons. Save it, and create more to your heart's content. Alright, last game I want to talk about. Welcome, my friends, to the 3D adventures of Sailor Moon. Am I cheating again? Yes, because I know this is technically not a fashion doll game. It's a Sailor Moon game. But Sailor Moon did have fashion dolls, so I don't know, work with me here. Generation Girl got a groove and Diva Stars weren't functioning, so I had to find something. Anyways, this game is from 1997 and is a unique Sailor Moon property in that it was not imported. It was not made in Japan and was made exclusively for a Western audience, which bodes such wonderful things, right? The premise of the game is that Queen Beryl has hidden the quote-unquote Sailor Scouts transformational items in each of these 5 areas, each one representing a certain minigame. Unfortunately, there is no voice cast from this game, so none of the iconic Deke English dub performances are present. There's just two narrators, one male and one female, that show up every now and then. Anyways, the first area is the magical puzzle room, which is exactly what it sounds like. Just some very simple square puzzles featuring images of the Sailor Scouts in 3 levels of difficulty. Solve any 3 of them and you get Mercury's pin. Next, the Galactic Moon Library. I think my screen might be glitching out a little here, but click on any of the moving screens in this environment to view character profiles for the Sailor Scouts, Tuxedo Mask, and Rini. I will quickly sort through them here just in case you're curious what top secret information the game might be hiding. Anyways, by looking through Tuxedo Mask's gallery, you get Sailor Jupiter's pin, and it's on to the next area, the Moon Fashion Salon. Here you can view 3D models of the Sailor Scouts strut the runway while the narrator comments on their fashion choices. Did you know that Sailor Mercury loves to wear blue because it's her favorite color? Or that Sailor Venus wears orange because she is a dynamic fighter? Well, now you do.
Sailor Mars looks good in red, which is the symbol of a dedicated fighter.
Clicking on Tuxedo Mask, we get one line from the male narrator.
This is Tuxedo Mask in his famous fighting tuxedo outfit. As you can see, black is his favorite color.
Oh, and by clicking on any of the 3D models as they catwalk, you get treated to a little dress-up game with, I'll just say, a very, very interesting selection of clothing and leave it at that. I did say I loved a dress-up game, though, and I brought this on myself. There's even one for Darien, and oh my god, why does he look so grumpy here? Well, I might too if these were my clothing options. In any case, dressing up Sailor Venus gets you her transformation pin, and we move right along to the Moon Castle TV show. Here you get to watch what are essentially short AMVs that I think are worth experiencing for the song choices alone. You can get Mars's pin here, but this area always just crashed the game for me, so. The last area is the Crystal Fighting Arena. Here you play a shooter minigame where you try to blast these, I don't know, pumpkin things with Sailor Moon's wand. And I'm willing to forgive the game a little and say it was glitching out, but this was hands down the most nonsense game I've ever played in my entire life. You're not even really shooting, you're just kind of clicking, and there's no, like, projectile or anything. Sometimes the pumpkins explode, and sometimes they don't. I really have no idea. After you laboriously destroy 29 of these things, you get to face off with the extremely menacing Queen Barrel rotating box of doom. And then you get Sailor Moon's item. Yay! Since I was never able to get Sailor Mars's pin, I could never actually technically complete the game. But if you win, all that happens is that the game tells you you can play any of the areas as much as you want as your reward. Oh, and in the center, if you click on it, there's a Sailor Moon sing-along, but that also really did not want to work on my computer and kept crashing. And there you have it. That was... How many was that? 7 games? Sure, 7 games, and... Here at the end of the video, I have no grand thesis statement other than I had fun. This was fun. I would love to do more videos like this, especially now that I have, I guess, like, the base knowledge for running these sorts of games. It's just unfortunate I could only get so many of them to work. But hey, if you have any tips for me on working with these old games, I would love to hear it. Or if you don't have any advice and you just want to tell me how much fun you had watching this video, I would love to hear that too. I don't know. But really, whatever is on your mind, be sure to let it out down there in the comments. Let me know if you played any of these games growing up, if you loved them, if you hated them, if there's any other fashion doll games that you remembered. And when you're done with all that, just be sure to like and subscribe for any future fashion doll content. Thank you.
Bye.